welcome to another episode of the Don't Argue with the Facts podcast. I'm your host, Noah Love, and today, I know I'm a little bit late, finals and everything, but we're going to talk about the college football playoff and the controversy surrounding that. We will also be talking about the conference championship games that happened. We will be talking about that. There's been some NFL news I missed. Phillip Rivers is back. We'll talk about that in the Colt and in him trying to save the Colts season. NFL Week 15 is stacked. We'll also talk a little bit about that. And if we have some time at the end, we'll talk about some college basketball as well. But without further ado, let's get into it. Let's start with this college football playoff, man. The college football playoff is set. It is set, and and we're ready. The bracket, the top four. Indiana at the number one team in the nation, still can't believe it. They get a first round bye. Number two is Ohio State. They get a first round bye. Both teams played in the Big Ten title game, and Indiana won. We'll discuss that game a little later. Georgia, after thrashing Alabama in the SEC title game, is the 3 seed. And Texas Tech, after dominating BYU again, are the 4 seed. Texas Tech is going to the Orange Bowl. Indiana's going to the Rose Bowl. Georgia's going to the Sugar Bowl, where they lost last year. And the Cotton Bowl will be Ohio State. They play on December 31st, and then you got those 3 games on New Year's Day. In terms of the actual matchup, Oregon is the 5 seed. They'll play James Madison. Because Duke won the ACC and they weren't one of the highest rated champions, JMU goes in. JMU, after beating Troy in the Sun Belt, goes in the 6-11. It's Ole Miss versus Tulane. Tulane was ranked one. They beat North Texas in the American Conference Championship, Athletic Conference Championship. They go. In the 7-10, surprised, Texas A&M at 7, they play number 10, Miami. They play the 10 seed Miami, and in the 8-9 matchup, it's a rematch of Oklahoma and Alabama at Norman this time. Okay, thoughts. Let's just get to the Notre Dame. Notre Dame's left out. Notre Dame was led to believe if they took care of business, they were in. That obviously did not turn out to be the case. They get let out. Here's my issue with this whole thing. How in the world are they on Tuesday, on the Tuesday night, the penultimate before the last show, rankings, they were, Notre Dame was 10, Miami was 12. On now the finals ranking show, Miami moves over Notre Dame. Why? What's the difference between Tuesday and Sunday? Neither team played. Look, the committee did it how I would have done it. In terms of, I feel like you could have put Alabama at 10 and Miami at 9. But because I do, look, if you're going to move everybody else down 1 at least for losing a conference title game, Alabama should at least move down slot. But that's neither here nor there. Miami should have always been ahead of once Miami beat Pitt, Miami should have moved. Miami should have jumped BYU and jumped Notre Dame. At least you would have known, at least Notre Dame would have known going to that last week, dang, we got hope for something else to happen. We got hope for some chaos. Just for them to know that they thought they did enough, but at something that they needed to happen, which was BYU's losing, that didn't happen. Alabama losing didn't happen. Still nothing they could have done. They gave them false hope. Now the AD's going off on some other nonsense, that they're complaining. Look, Notre Dame, and I'm going to be honest, I don't care if you're in a conference or not, but if you don't want this to happen again, get your butt in a conference. Now, I know they signed a deal where if they're in the top 12, they're in automatically, which, what are we doing as a sport? What are we doing? The fact that's even a rule is just beyond me. Notre Dame doesn't want to join the ACC. They want to stay independent. That is completely fine. This is one of your consequences. If you were playing on Championship Saturday, depending on, you could have rematched Miami if you were in the ACC. You probably could have rematched them in the ACC, or you would have been in over them. And instead of Duke, it's Virginia you're playing, and you win. You would have been in if you were in a conference and you played a conference title game, and you would have been in. If you were in the Mountain West, you would have been in. You weren't in a conference, which that's what ultimately killed you. Again, I said this. I did not believe they were going to punish Alabama. No matter how bad they looked, I do not believe they were going to punish Alabama for losing that conference title game by dropping them out of the playoff. I just didn't believe that. So if the debates between, to me, the debate, if you were going to drop anybody, is Notre Dame, Alabama. Miami, to me, there shouldn't have been no debate there. In terms of Miami and Notre Dame, resumes are comparable. Miami's playing better at the end of the season. They're both playing well. Head-to-head rules today. In terms of that, Miami's in. To me, the debate should have been Notre Dame, Alabama. And that's the debate where I still think Notre Dame might lose that, even though Alabama has 3 losses, because Alabama has a better resume. Beat Georgia in Athens. Beat Vandy at home, win on the road to Missouri, got a win. They just have better wins. Truthfully. Beat Tennessee at home. Truthfully. They just have better wins in terms of the resume, so that kind of kills you as well. But Notre Dame, you can also make the case, if we're talking about just the past 5 weeks, Notre Dame's been playing way better than Alabama. So again, to me, that's the debate. To me, Miami should have been in. Look, the committee did the right thing in putting Miami in over Notre Dame. That's just that. That to me isn't even a discussion. They did the right thing there. Notre Dame not playing in the bowl game. To me, it's weak. It's weak. And it's not, and any team that does not decide to play in a bowl game, especially if you are an okay program, I see why you're an okay program. And I see why you're either mid or losing. I see why. You decline a chance to play more football. You can use that extra 4 to 5 weeks of practice, or those extra 3 weeks, whatever the practices is. You can use that extra time. And I'm not telling you that Jeremiah Love should have played in that game, in the game in Pop-Tarts Bowl game. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is it's a good opportunity to A, play football, the sport that you claim to love, and B, it's a good opportunity for those younger guys to play so you can evaluate and know what you have. That's good. I love Sark's response when he said it's an honor to play in the Cheez-It Bowl against Michigan, and we're going to go out there and we're going to play. They didn't decline. Sark was lobbying they should have been in, even though they shouldn't have. They're not in. They're going to go play. They're going to go try. They're going to go play. Maybe some guys opt out, whatever. They're going to go play to see what they have. They're going to try to get, it's another extra game for Arch to get better. They are going to go and play. Clark Lee, Vandy has an argument. They're going to go and play. Pavia is going to go and play because that's what they do at Vanderbilt. They love football, and it's another chance to be a competitor, and they're going to want to cap off this season the right way. I understand Notre Dame's angry. I'm not understanding that. But Marcus Freeman is a guy who I look at as he's spot the ball anytime, any day, any place, let's go. I haven't heard Marcus Freeman's thoughts on this. Why is it just AD? Let me hear what Marcus Freeman has to say. Was this Marcus Freeman's decision? I can't I can't possibly imagine him saying, you know what, we're not gonna we're just gonna take our ball and go home. I do not see Marcus Freeman as that. I don't. He seems like spot the ball. We're gonna go play. Right, doesn't matter. BYU, bring it on. If you want to opt out, it's fine. We're gonna go in. We're gonna prepare for war. Let's go. That's just what he seems like to me. I just don't like that. Again, Notre Dame, you're moaning and complaining and moaning and complaining and complaining and complaining and complaining. You didn't get in. If you win one of those first two games, again, this is why you don't put it in the committee's hands. If you win one of those two games, you're in right now. If you beat A&M, you're in. If you beat Miami, you're in. And I really point to the A&M game because that's the game that's at home. That's the game where you were up in the fourth quarter late. That's the game where you outplayed A&M, in my opinion, and still lost. Misholding whatever, you made mistakes in that game. That's my opinion of it. So you knew what the assignment was coming into the season, and you didn't do it. To me, they should stick to, because the argument for them should be like, well, the process is broken. Because to me, that's what the process is broken. To me, don't be mad at. You can't be upset at Miami, and I don't think they are, or the ACC. Again, they're upset at the ACC for caping for their own team. Well, they've done irreparable damage. No, timeout. You didn't want to join their conference. Miami's in their conference. Miami's going to get that. ACC's going to get that conference. Why did they? They were always going to cape for Miami over you. Well, we didn't like the way they did it. Join a conference. If you felt like Miami gave you the middle finger, or not Miami, if you felt like the ACC gave you the middle finger, you know what? Good. Because when in 2020, when nobody wanted to play you, or you weren't going to be allowed to play, you weren't going to have a season. This is when Brian Kelly was there. And the ACC said, you know what? You're in ACC and other sports. We're going to let you join. You ended up going to the college football playoff. You ended up going to the ACC title game. The ACC comes back and says, hey, why not join? You basically said, screw off. Everything's getting back to normal. Now we're good. Basically, you gave them the middle finger. And the ACC probably is returning the favor a little bit by showing all those replays on the ACC network. And genuinely, the fact you're complaining about that is blasphemy. You join a conference. Again, like you said, I don't care if Notre Dame's in a conference or not. I really don't, because to me, like, look, I understand in terms of the money and everything and why they don't want to share it. I completely understand. The one thing Pete Provocqua said that I very much agree with is we need to get rid of the weekly selection show. We need to get rid of that. Just do the selection Sunday like March Madness. Do that. Don't give us every week, boom, 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 boom. We don't need that. And also, and before I get to these conference title games, I got one more thing. Oh, actually, I got two more things. And it's the other thing's not going to be about Notre Dame. Why in the world are two G5s in here? Let's just be honest about it. Let's be honest about it. Look, the little guy, I usually cape for them. But in this scenario, you've got a top 12 team Notre Dame's one of the 12 best teams in the country. That's on the outside looking in because we have to include Tulane and James Madison. This whole system is screwed up, and I don't got look. God bless Tulane and James Madison. Seriously, that's a great accomplishment for the program, and I hope they go out there and they ball out, and maybe one of them creates some chaos. But realistically, JMU's going up to Oregon. Oregon probably will win that game by 28 points. Let's just be honest about it. Let's just be honest about it. So, I don't know. And then my other gripe with the bracket, and Hunter Yurchek, he doesn't answer any questions. That's why I'm so done with the committee. I'm so glad it's over. When asked about Texas A&M and Ole Miss and why A&M wasn't in the sixth spot and Ole Miss was at the seventh spot, which is a very good question considering the metrics, and A&M probably in A&M you can make the argument better resume, but A&M just being better in every metric, and also with Ole Miss losing Kiffin. Why is Ole Miss not in the 7-10 game playing Miami, and why is A&M not in the 6-11 game? And Hunter Yurchek just didn't answer the question. He just tap danced around the question. And that's one of, and it's a, and people will look at that and be like, that's a small gripe. They both get a home playoff game. No, that's a big gripe. If you're in the 6-11 game, again, you're getting Tulane. If you're A&M at home, now you're getting Miami, which is way, 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 way tougher. Way tougher opponent in matchup. So I don't know. In terms of CFP, early thoughts on my first round, but I'll get that out probably at some point another time. But that's really my rant there because what the heck are you doing? Notre Dame, come on now. You're Notre Dame. You're better than this. I understand you're mad at the other network or ESPN. You don't want to give them that money. You're costing them $50 million. I completely understand that. Like, I'm not gonna act like I don't. Like, I know. I'm just saying, like, you're Notre Dame. You gotta be better. We have to be better than this. Okay, let's go to these conference title games. I'll go over one. I'll go over one of these quickly. Uh, let's see. I'll go over this quickly. Tulane beats North Texas to advance to the college football playoff in a conference championship game. I thought in this game, North Texas, they had that one drive early in the game. In the game to start it off to go 7-0, and then after that, Tulane was all over them. I thought Tulane's defense did a terrific job. Maker had 3 interceptions. There was just a couple like balls off the hands, and it gets intercepted. I thought the story of the game was the way Tulane was able to run the ball and the defense. They almost ran in for over 200 yards. They really controlled the time of possession, tried to keep North Texas possessions at a minimum, but even when North Texas got the ball, some very good defense. Look, for North Texas, that's a tough loss. Not going to the playoff, obviously. Tulane is Jake Retzlaff, former P4 quarterback. They ran. Obviously, we're gonna see against Ole Miss. They played the first time and Ole Miss killed them. We'll see. Can they pull off an upset? I don't know. Look, they're like a 17.5 point dog in that game. I don't know. We'll see in terms of that, but you know, well, we'll just see. Okay, now Big 12 title game: Texas Tech BYU. Texas Tech murders BYU 34-7. Just after the first drive by BYU, and when you saw Bear Bachmeyer come up limp and come up basically hurt, you honestly you said to yourself, ball game. That's ball game. And it was ball game because BYU did not score again. This Texas Tech in terms of their offense, okay, they played well. I think at times it was a little shaky. It was basically if you watched BYU and Texas Tech from the first time, it's a copy and paste game. It's copy and paste. It's the same game, essentially. BYU can't do anything on offense. This time, instead of Martin being hurt, it's Bachmeier. Their defense is fighting their tails off, but their offense is putting them in bad positions. Texas Tech's defense is just suffocating. Turnovers, 4 turnovers in 20 minutes is just like, yeah. It's just like, yeah. Texas Tech dominated the game. And this is a Texas Tech team that, assuming Oregon wins, Oregon and Texas Tech potentially in the Orange Bowl is going to be an absolute bloodbath. And I'm ready for it. It's going to be absolutely just that game is going to be so incredible that I honestly can't wait to watch that game if that game happens on New Year's Day. That's going to be a war in the I'm talking straight war. Like that's gonna be one heck of a game. And if that happens in about 4 weeks, but look, you gotta give credit where it's due. You gotta give props to uh you gotta give props in this game to Texas Tech and basically what that defense has been able to do. Now, you think is that the best offense they faced all season? If it is, it's kind of concerning because let's be real, BYU, they're not really explosive. They're not big time explosive. So yeah. Yeah, man. Look, Texas Tech wins the Big 12. Joey McGuire doing an amazing job with that team, and they get a first round bye. Shout out to them. That was big time. That's a big time win. Now let's go to the SEC. Where Georgia kicks just kicks Alabama. They kick their behind 28-7. This game from the jump, you just felt Georgia. They were there to hunt, and that defense was on a different level. And Georgia right now is scary because they're surging, and they're surging at the right time. Offensively in this game, it wasn't anything special, but it's the defense. I know Alabama is going to say 28. Their defense fought their tails off. If you look, the first touchdown, it's a block punt. Georgia gets that at like their own at Alabama's 12. They go down and they score because of course they do. And then at the end of the game, it's like 4th and 2 from their own 12. They don't get it, and they're set up again. Look, Bama's defense was put in bad positions all night long. They were basically on the field all day long, all evening long, all afternoon long. Like 36 minutes to 23 minutes in terms of time of possession. And also you have to look at it like this. Georgia ran the ball 141 yards. Bama ran the ball for -3 yards. -3. Yes, an Alabama-led team, or an Alabama team ran for -3 yards. That just doesn't happen. That offense for like the probably since LSU, I don't know what's happened to it. And well, I can tell you they're one dimensional. America, when you can't run the ball effectively, if you can't run the ball, you're not winning. especially against Georgia. Georgia said, you know what? We're going to have 5 D linemen. We know you're going to throw. So we are going to tee off on your quarterback. And that's what happened. They got after Simpson. They made Simpson very rough. Again, they play Oklahoma. Oklahoma, the last time in Tuscaloosa, that forced them to have 3 turnovers. They got after Ty Simpson. They made Ty Simpson make some bad decisions. Oklahoma's offense didn't beat Alabama. Oklahoma's defense did. And that's a first round matchup in Norman where if you can't run the ball, uh-oh. If they get R. Mason Thomas back, uh-oh. Are your tackles ready for that? I don't know. Georgia's defense in this game was so just they were incredible. But we have to talk about Kalen DeBoer in this decision making. Okay. I believe it might have been the 4th and 3 or 4th and 2 from their own 34. They're down 21-0 in the game. They punt it. Okay, they punt it, maybe couldn't get anything going. Fourth and what? It was 4th and 2 from their own 12. That's when you go? When it's 21-7, 4th and 2 from your own 12. That's when you go. Then you can't go there. You have to punt that ball back, hopes the defense get a 3-and-out, hope you get it back. And then you see what you... This isn't like if it's 3 minutes left to go in the game. It's like 9 minutes left to go into the game. Punt the football. That's when you go? Voice crack. That's when you go? That decision to me, I even a couple days later, I still don't understand it. Maybe he's thinking, look, this is basically the game right here. So if we don't get in, it's over anyways. I I I don't know. In terms of the criticals of 3rd down, the difference between the first matchup, and we talked about it, night and day. Night and day. They were 3 of 14 on 3rd down. You you gotta tip your hat to Kirby Smart. That tip your hat. You just got to. You gotta tip your hat. Georgia's defense throughout this game was incredible. I thought their corners were great, by the way. Really had great coverage. Ryan Williams. Look, Bama, they don't look like a team that can win the national championship like they did early on, honestly. And we talked about them not being able to run the ball. And I understand some analysts will say, well, they didn't have Jam Miller. Hey, guess what? They couldn't run the ball with him there. They couldn't run it with him there. Now, did it look worse? Yes. But with him there, they were still struggling to run stretches. Outside zone, duo, inside zone, between they was power. They were still struggling to do that. If they were getting yards, yeah, sure they'd run some of that, but they will also run jet sweeps, reverses. When you cannot run the ball in college football, you cannot win. And also, it's a game of explosives. Now, Alabama didn't have really a lot of explosives. Georgia didn't really have it either, to be fair. But Georgia created turnovers, blocked punts, and then you saw the defense took over the game. We got to talk about Georgia and how, since I want to say the game that turned the tide probably on this season is probably Ole Miss. Ole Miss or Georgia. Ole Miss or Auburn, one of those two games. Because even the Auburn game, they didn't play too well. 10-0 at the half, and then Georgia annihilates them in the second half. And then you have and then it's and we talked about the officiating and all that. I'm not getting into that. Then it's Ole Miss Georgia, obviously, and Ole Miss is gashing them. It's 35-20. Kiffin is just, you're not out scheming Kiffin, right? Georgia in the fourth quarter said, basically, you know what? We're a championship program. This is our championship DNA. We are going to find a way to get stops, and we're going to find a way to win this game. And that's what happened. And I talked about it. And then after Florida, to me, and where they found a way to win that game, clobbered Mississippi State, clobbered Texas. The defense played well against Georgia Tech. Now, defense has played well here. The defense in just I'm not counting Charlotte. Like, I'm not counting that where they gave up 3 points. It's Charlotte. You're Georgia. I know it says Mississippi State 21. Outside of some garbage time touchdown downs, a couple of them, Georgia, that defense dominated the game. Against Texas, that defense dominated. If it was not for a short field, they would have legitimately beat Texas 35-3. That's how dominant they were. And then you go on against Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech gave them all these issues last season. They shut down Georgia Tech and Ames King pretty much. They shut down the running ability. They shut it down. And then against Alabama, oh, Ty Simpson did this in the first matchup. They said, hey, that's great. We're only giving up 7 points. And honestly, it shouldn't have even been 7 because they get to stop and then their DB gets some stupid penalty there. So Georgia is a great job. Back to back for Georgia's first time since 1980 that it's happened there. So, yeah, that incredible by Georgia. And who I'm gonna tell you, if we get Georgia Ohio State in the semis, can somebody say cinema? Day, Smart, Stockton saying those two defenses, the talent in that off the charts. Oof. Oof. Okay. Now let's go to the ACC championship. What essentially put Miami and JMU into the playoff. Darian Mintz is an NFL player. We know this. Duke was pulling out all the stops in this game. Everybody was watching IU Ohio State. Pretty much, at least on my timeline, it was. And then you turn to ABC, you're like, the doomsday scenario is happening. And this was a crazy game because Virginia was down 20-10. They come back. By the way, on the touchdown, that dude's out of bounds. I don't know how that's a touchdown. Dude was out of bounds. Whatever. It goes into overtime. Obviously, Duke on 4th and 1 at the 1, they go. They say, we're just going to go. Manny Diaz is like, we have nothing to lose. We are 7-5. We ain't going to the playoff. We're going to a bowl game either way. But it would be nice for us to get this ACC. We pulling out all the stops. And they did, again, fake punts, reverses, trick plays. Like, oh my goodness. And then when they needed a stop the most, the defense came up with the interception on Chandler Morris. Virginia, feel awful for you. Brutal way to go out. If you win, you would have been in the CFP. Brutal. I feel for you. Duke, though, that is at 8-5 to win the ACC. Manny Diaz won an ACC title before Miami and Mario Cristobal. Like, college football is so great. When Duke intercepted that football, I was like, I laughed out loud. I'm like, 8-5 Duke just won the ACC. Meanwhile, Indiana, Ohio State, yeah, Indiana's pull. That's one of the great games of the season. You got Duke, Virginia over here. Yeah, Duke at 8-5 just winning the ACC. Turn to ABC, turn to ABC. So yeah, that I'm texting my friends. Please turn. I know this is great. Turn the channel. Duke's over there winning. Duke's over there putting JMU into the playoff, and it's like nobody is noticing, nobody's caring. They're sneaking through the back door. Yeah, great win for Duke though. Darian Mensah, that's an NFL quarterback. I really don't care what you tell me. One more year seasoning. That's an NFL quarterback. So they'll go to a bowl and we'll see what they can do. We will see what they can do. Now, for the game of what was the weekend most watched conference title game ever, Indiana. Kurt Signetti does it in 2 years. IU. I'm just going to read off the previous 3 years before Signetti gets there. This is after the Tom Allen COVID season. 2-10, 4-8, 3-9. I think they had like 2 Big Ten wins. That last season, they almost got upset by Akron. It's dire. It was dire times, dire straits, dire times, whatever you want to call it. And 2 years later, new coach, new everything. Now Indiana are champs of the Big Ten. You gotta give it to them. Incredible. I just want to start this off by saying, no matter who you are a fan of, I don't care that I don't care who you were a fan of this game or whatever. As you know, I'm an IU fan. But if you were just a fan of football like I am and try to give the most real analysis and unbiased analysis, this was a great football. This is one of the best football games, I think, all year. The atmosphere. It was two great defenses. It turned into a rock fight. Like, the offenses weren't just dormant in this game. Like, that's not what happened. This was an incredible football game. Now, the one thing you look at in this football game and you say, how did Indiana win this game? Obviously, the first thing you're going to look at is the defense. Brian Haynes, the Broyles Award winner, locked up. Incredible. Indiana has not been talked about really in terms of it's been Heisman Doza. Oh, look at where did Charlie Becker come from? Charlie B. You know where he's from. If you were watching the Big Ten title game with Gus Johnson, you get that reference. Surratt, Cooper, who by the way gets hurt like 3 plays into this game, and they still find a way to win. Defense haven't really been talked about like that. You look at this defense and mainly the front. They play Tyree Tucker, Stephen Daly. I mean, Isaiah Jones, like Elijah Hardy, Lewis Moore was an interception. They played out of their mind. But the second thing you point to is Indiana had more explosives. They had more explosives than Ohio State, mainly in the second half. You start off, you obviously had Kalon Black, obviously, and that was in the first half. You obviously had a big run. In the second half, after the 3-and-out, or not 3-and-out, but after they get 2 sacks in a row on Ohio State, and it's 3rd-and-27 after Ohio State got, I think, one or two first downs. You get the big throw to Charlie B. Charlie Becker. I need to stop calling him that. Charlie Becker. You get the big throw to Charlie Becker. down there. Then you obviously have the big run for the first down, and then it comes down 3rd and 8. They were frying Jermaine Matthews all night. Jermaine Matthews is a good they were Mendoza. It seemed like every time there need to be big plays, like whoever number 7 is on, we're targeting him. Even on the touchdown where it's Surratt on the back shoulder fade. That was on Jermaine Matthews. Surratt on the back shoulder fade. And then look, Ohio State, you've got 2 drives. I think one was 15 plays, one was 14 plays. No points. No points. You run a QB sneak with saying, which again, you haven't ran a lot of that all year. You ran it last week against Michigan, and it didn't work. It didn't work. It did not work. It got stuffed, and same thing happened here. It didn't work. And then look in the red zone. I thought I I I thought, look, Indiana got that big touchdown in the red area, obviously. I thought it was going to come down to that. In the second half, Indiana got into the red area once. Touchdown. Ohio State got into the red area twice. Twice. No points. Even on that second time. Look, and you could say, oh, they should have used Jeremiah Smith more. Bro, I thought the 3rd-and-1 call on that last drive, that's just a great play by Elijah Hardy to recognize that tight end's coming over and he's on his hip, not holding. He just goes around, knocks the ball away. I thought the defensive lineman did a good job staying with Sayin and chasing him, making sure he couldn't run for the first down. And then it comes down to a 28-yard field goal, and he hooks it. I promise you, I don't know how he misses that field goal. I don't know how he missed. I can't tell you how he missed. I don't know. All I know is that he missed. In Indiana, wins the big. And then, of course, 3rd and 6. Signetti talked about in the postgame, says, I was not playing not to lose. I was playing to win. And so they take the shot. It's Charlie Becker again. And Indiana wins their first conference titles. It's like 1945. Or not first outright, I guess, since 45. I guess they shared it in 1967. You got to give props to Signetti and wear this pro in 2 years. He's like what's his? He's like 24-2, I think. That's remarkable. And all week you had to hear about the talent disparity and the talent gap. I'm not gonna act like talent does not matter, because it does, but you also have to have a great scheme and great coaching, and you have to buy into a culture, and that's what Signetti has brought to Indiana, a culture, and everybody's bought in from the top to the bottom, and they're well coached, and you got the right guys, and they found a way to win. Look, Ohio State, to me, were they the unbeatable force? No, but that's still a great football team. That's still a great defense. The defense just didn't get gashed. Mendoza, when his best was required, he when his best was required, they got it. Again, they held Ohio State to 58 yards rushing Indiana. That was incredible. Look, Jeremiah Smith had 8 for 144. Like, he was great in the game. But in the red area, they just could not get him in. I know Tate had that one touchdown. But Jeremiah Smith went crazy, but outside of that, nobody else did. Max Clare didn't go crazy. Tate, I mean, he didn't go that crazy. Bo Jackson, I mean, they held him in check for the most part. And then the one thing is, Indiana have 5 sacks and 9 TFLs. That to me, and both teams were getting pressure on the quarterback and was making it tough. I thought the difference in the game, honestly, was I think Indiana's secondary was a little bit overall was a little bit better than Ohio State's, mainly late and mainly in the second half. And so yeah, look, Ohio State's still a good team, a great team. I was kind of surprised he didn't go for it on 4th and 1, but I at the end of the game, Ryan Day, but I understood why he didn't do it. Because look, you want to take points there. It's great defense. Got to respect it. It fielding, you don't expect him to miss that. You don't expect him to miss that. So props to Indiana in winning. This was a fantastic game. There could be a good chance they meet again, and then we see what happens there. But yeah, Indiana wins the conference title game. That's big for them. Big for them, and big for the program, and big for the state. How can you not love conference championship games? Now let's venture into the NFL real quick. This is crazy. Phillip Rivers. Okay, as you know, the Colts season may be done. You never know. The Colts. They went from 8-7-1. They're now 8-5. They dropped 4 out of 5. They lost to Jacksonville last week. Jones has a season-ending Achilles. That's horrific. Riley Leonard steps in. Don't think he played bad, but now I guess he has a hurt knee. He's practicing today. I have no clue. They needed another quarterback, and they didn't want, I guess, Brent Rippon. They called 44-year-old Phillip Rivers. Yes, this is not a drill. 44-year-old Phillip Rivers is on. They signed him, and it looks like he's going to play against Seattle. Seattle is a 2-touchdown favorite. I do not blame Vegas for this, because you don't really know. Phillip Rivers is going to try to get the Indianapolis Colts to the playoffs. If the Indianapolis Colts, if Phillip Rivers pulls this off and gets to the playoffs somehow, you can't help but in the AFC, if that happens and gets them just in, you can't help but kind of root for them to get Rivers at 44 off the couch a chance at a Super Bowl. And like, wow. Again, they called him and they had a conversation. Rivers talked to his family and he said, "Dad, let's do it." So I don't know if he starts or if Leonard starts. I have no idea. Look, NFL Week 15 is stacked. So NFL's Week 15 is stacked. So I don't know. Well, we will talk about that more tomorrow. But man, what a turn of events. He I I genuinely can't believe it. I genuinely can't believe that he is back. That's correct. I genuinely can't believe that he is going to play against a Seattle defense that's just great. He's going to travel up to Seattle and play. I don't know, man. I don't know, man. This is crazy. Um, but now let's talk about some college basketball. Uh, Last night in college basketball was going on for a while. There's been some great games. Last night, BYU hit the buzzer beater to beat Clemson. Michigan destroys Villanova. I'm going to tell you the truth. I think Michigan's probably the best team in the country. I'm just going to be honest with you. I think they're probably the best team in the country. I know Arizona's ranked number 1. Michigan's killing teams. Like Gonzaga is a really good team. Killed them. They killed them. Villanova's that's a good basketball team. Last night, killed them. Auburn killed them. Like they are beating teams so bad right now. Arizona's got some great wins. Like they did beat Florida, which I know Florida's guards. Yeah, we'll get to that. And UConn, yeah, another heartbreaker for them in a tough non-con. Like they, like like beat Florida. Okay, tough for them in the non-con. I forgot mine. Anyways, like okay, Arizona beats Florida in the non-con. Beats what was the other team? They beat UConn on the road. And I know UConn was down, I think, one or two starters, but they still won. And that's still UConn's only loss to date. Like Arizona, they have some great wins. Purdue was number one, but then they got knocked off by Iowa State on Saturday. I really good. I think right now, in terms, if you're just asking me about the Big Ten, like Michigan State, Purdue, I think those are your top three, and then not in any particular order, but I think those are your top three, and then after that, it's kind of like I have no idea. I think that second tier, I think Indiana is in that second tier. Truthfully, the way they can score, obviously Illinois. Funny enough, I think Nebraska right now is kind of trending towards that, considering they're undefeated and they're ranked. You can never sleep on a Wisconsin team. You can never sleep on them. I don't know. It'd be interesting. Like even in college basketball, like I think Louisville's awesome. I think they're a very good team that can make some noise because of their guards and the way they can shoot and play the game. I'm really big on them. BYU won last night. BYU's all Dibanansta or Dabansta. AJ, he's awesome. They come back and beat Clemson last night. And then obviously you have UConn and Florida. That felt like a tournament game. They're 1-1. Please give us that again in March. Please. I need it. Every time those two teams play, like the kids would say, cinema. Great game. We're obviously getting towards conference play now. And there's still some non-con games. Like Texas has to go on the road play UConn on Friday night. I know Saturday is a big day. Arkansas plays Texas Tech. Purdue plays Marquette. I know Indiana, Kentucky play. Memphis plays Louisville. Nebraska has to go on the road to Illinois. I know Arizona plays Alabama. It's getting to be that time in terms of college basketball, and it starts heating up. So I mean, yeah. So look, college basketball right now. I think Duke's awesome as well. They're undefeated. Duke at 10-0. Cameron Boozer's playing great. I think Kansas has improved from what they were. I think they've improved. Without Peterson, I think they were able to figure some things out. Now Peterson's coming back, still playing some good basketball. So college right now, if I were to give you my early Final Four contenders, Michigan, Duke, Arizona, UConn. I'll go Gonzaga, Alabama, and probably Louisville. And Purdue as well. In terms of my early Final Four contenders, that's all. That's about all I got. But even like there are teams that aren't talked about this in top 15, like Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt won a bout for Atlantis. They're playing very well. They may be better than last year. I know St. John's, it's not great with how they've looked, of course. But I mean, hey, college basketball is the best sport on earth. That's basically what I got for you. All right, everybody. This has been an episode of the Don't Argue with the Facts podcast. Please comment. Please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And until the next time, see ya.